Imagine using your last $900, everything you have left, to buy an old abandoned farm. It sounds like a desperate gamble, doesn't it? But what this man didn't know is that the place he thought would bring nothing but hardship was about to reveal a treasure that would change his life forever. Jack Thompson had been through a lot in the past few years. He had worked hard, day in and day out, just to keep his head above water. But things didn't go as planned. The economy had taken a dive, and his job at the local factory was no longer stable. One day he got the call he dreaded. His position had been eliminated. With no savings, no support, and no job prospects in sight, Jack found himself at his lowest point. The next few months were a blur. He had struggled to pay bills, watch his savings vanish, and face the reality of his situation. Then one day, while scrolling through the classifieds section of the newspaper, something caught his eye. A small abandoned farm up for sale. The price was unbelievably low, only $900. It seemed like a crazy deal for a rundown farm in the middle of nowhere. Jack stared at the ad for hours, unsure of what to do. It seemed like the perfect way to escape the city, start fresh, and maybe, just maybe, find something that could turn his life around. The problem was, he didn't have much money left. In fact, he had exactly $900 to his name, the exact price of the farm. It was a risky decision, but it was all he had left. After a few sleepless nights, Jack made the bold choice. He cashed out his remaining savings, grabbed the last of his funds, and bought the farm. The whole time, he tried to convince himself it was the right decision. It was his last chance to make something of himself, to find a way to rebuild from the ground up. He packed up what little he had left and made the move to the old farm, hoping that it would bring the change he so desperately needed. When he arrived, the farmhouse looked even worse than the pictures had shown. The paint was peeling, the yard was a tangle of weeds, and the roof looked as if it might cave in at any moment. There was no sign of life, no animals, no crops, just a neglected piece of land that had been abandoned for years. Jack's heart sank a little. He had hoped for something more, but now it felt like he had just bought a piece of history that was long forgotten. Still, Jack wasn't one to give up easily. He knew the work ahead of him wouldn't be easy, but it was all he had. He rolled up his sleeves, set to work fixing up the house, cleaning the yard, and trying to make it a livable space again. Days turned into weeks, and Jack did what he could to restore the old farm to its former glory. But despite all the work, it still felt like something was missing. The farm seemed to hold secrets, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a dilapidated property. It was a place where something important had been hidden. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Jack went up into the attic to find some old supplies. The attic was dark and musty, filled with cobwebs and old furniture that had long been forgotten. As he moved aside an old chest, something caught his eye. A small dusty trunk that seemed out of place. It wasn't as old or weathered as the rest of the items in the attic. In fact, it looked brand new, almost as if it had been deliberately hidden away. Intrigued, Jack moved closer and examined the trunk. It had a rusty lock, but it wasn't broken, just unused, as if it hadn't been opened in years. His curiosity got the better of him, and he grabbed a crowbar to pry it open. With a few forceful tugs, the lock broke, and Jack lifted the lid. Inside he found an assortment of old papers, photographs, and a few antiques, things that seemed to have little value. But buried at the bottom of the trunk, wrapped in a faded cloth, was something else. A letter. Jack carefully unfolded the letter, unsure of what to expect. But when he read the first line, his heart stopped. To the one who finds this, what you are about to discover will change everything. Jack's hands trembled as he carefully unfolded the letter. The ink, faded but still legible, seemed to pulse with a strange energy. The words that followed sent a chill down his spine. To the one who finds this, what you are about to discover will change everything. This farm is not just a piece of land. It holds a secret, a treasure hidden for generations. The key to unlocking it lies within your reach. But beware. Others have searched before you and failed. Do not let greed guide you, for the cost of this discovery may be higher than you can imagine. The letter was signed simply with the initials J.T. and a symbol Jack couldn't recognize, 2 interlocking rings. As Jack read the words again, the weight of their meaning hit him, a treasure, hidden for generations, right here on this farm. The idea seemed impossible, yet something deep inside him told him it wasn't just a story. The farm was special, different somehow. He took the letter downstairs to his workbench, his mind racing. What kind of treasure could be hidden here, and why was it hidden? His thoughts were interrupted when he noticed something he hadn't seen before. A small ornate box tucked away in the corner of the workbench. He had passed it countless times, never paying it any attention. But now, it seemed to call out to him. Could this be part of the mystery? Jack opened the box with trembling hands. Inside was an antique key, an old brass key, engraved with intricate symbols. The key seemed to glow faintly in the dim light, as if it held some secret power. Could this be the key mentioned in the letter? The one that would unlock the treasure? He studied the key for a moment, trying to make sense of it. The symbols were similar to the ones in the letter, but Jack wasn't sure what they meant. The more he looked at it, the more it felt like the key was alive, almost pulsating in his hand. It was as though it was waiting for something. The journal in the attic was his next step. Jack had almost forgotten about it, buried beneath the dust and cobwebs of the attic. He quickly retrieved it and began flipping through its yellowed pages. The handwriting was old but clear, describing strange rituals, forgotten legends, and maps leading to hidden places. As he skimmed through the pages, a strange drawing caught his eye. A map with a detailed route marked in red ink, leading to a specific location on the farm. It wasn't far from where Jack had found the box. His heart raced as he realized the map might lead to the treasure. He had the key, and now he had the map. But why had the treasure been hidden here in such a secluded place? And who was J.T.? The person who had left the message. Jack felt a surge of determination. He had to find out. There was no going back now. With the key and the map in hand, he set out to follow the trail, wondering what he would uncover. Each step felt like it brought him closer to a secret that had been buried for decades, a secret that, according to the letter, was meant for him to find. But as Jack made his way to the marked location on the map, an unsettling thought crossed his mind. He wasn't the first one to search for the treasure. Others had tried before him and failed. What had happened to them? And what would he discover once the treasure was unlocked? The air grew colder as Jack approached the marked spot. The ground was undisturbed, yet the feeling of being watched washed over him. He wasn't alone in this search. Someone, or something, was still guarding this secret, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was getting closer to something far more dangerous than he had anticipated. Jack stood at the edge of the old barn, the map clutched tightly in his hand. The place marked in red ink was directly beneath the barn's foundation, exactly where the key was meant to unlock a secret that had been buried for years. His heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the weight of history, of the generations who had kept this secret locked away, and now it was his turn to uncover it. The ground before him seemed perfectly ordinary, but Jack knew better. He took the key in hand, and with a steady breath, he crouched down and began to dig. The soil was soft, almost as though it had been disturbed recently. The shovel clinked against something hard after just a few moments of digging. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He quickly cleared the dirt away, revealing a metal trapdoor, old and rusted, but unmistakable. With trembling hands, Jack unlocked the trapdoor with the key. It opened with a loud creak, revealing a narrow staircase that led underground. The air that wafted from the dark passage was cold and damp, and the hairs on the back of Jack's neck stood up. He had no idea what lay below, but his instincts told him to proceed with caution. Jack approached it slowly, his hands shaking as he lifted the lid. Inside, he found stacks of old documents, papers that looked like they hadn't been touched in centuries. But it wasn't just papers. At the very bottom of the chest, there was a box wrapped in faded cloth. Jack's heart raced as he unwrapped it, revealing a beautiful ornate necklace set with a large gemstone that seemed to glow in the dim light. The necklace was breathtaking, and as Jack held it in his hand, he felt a surge of energy, as though the treasure itself had been waiting for him. The necklace wasn't just a valuable artifact, it was a symbol, a key to a legacy that had been lost in time. But as Jack stared at the necklace, a chilling realization hit him. The letter had warned him. Do not let greed guide you. He wasn't just holding a treasure. He was holding the weight of the past, the power to change everything. And the world wasn't ready for what lay ahead. With the necklace in hand, Jack knew his journey was far from over. The legacy he had uncovered was just the beginning.